In this video, I'm going to show you my 15 favorite ways of wearing and using the Merino Wool Kerchief while hiking and backpacking. Now, while there are over 100 different ways of using and wearing the kerchief, these are the 15 I found to be the most useful to help me stay warm, cool, dry, and comfortable while out on the trail, including one way that totally saved my butt and could for you as well. Let's begin. Now, before we jump in, I want to talk about the conditions I found myself in, and then 3 basic principles I found to make this to really maximize the use of the kerchief. So for the conditions I found myself in was your typical 3-season conditions, so anywhere from the low 30s to the upper 70s, so and everything in between. I dealt with rain, sleet, snow, cold weather, hot weather, and literally everything in between, which really helped me to see the full versatility of the kerchief and how well it performs in all these different conditions. So in terms of kind of basic things to keep in mind is the first lesson I learned that I've also learned from some of you is if I'm not wearing the kerchief, then I'm probably not going to use it. If it's in my pack, I'm less likely to take my pack off and pull it out when I really need it. So what I say is always make sure you're wearing the kerchief in some form or fashion. Now the way I'm wearing it is what I call the ready position. It's basically just in a neckerchief configuration around my neck with the ends draped down. And even in hot weather, this really isn't going to insulate me and overheat me in any sort of way, but it makes sure that it's right there whenever I need it. Now with these loose ends, you can tuck them under your pack straps if you want to get them out of the way, or as some of my customers do, they will use like a hair tie or something else to kind of bunch this up all together. But in this way, it's just ready to go for all the different things that I'm going to show you today. So really a great way to wear the kerchief in what I call the ready position. Now, if this is too annoying for you or not very comfortable, the other thing you can do is what I do a lot when I'm walking around town or anything is just kind of wear it as a belt. So I'll tie this around my waist and then either single knot it or double knot it in the back, just so again it's within arm's reach. I can grab it whenever I need it. So first thing is make sure you're always wearing the kerchief or have it very easily on hand so you can pull it out when you need it. The second thing that I typically do but not always do is I will carry at least 2 products. So it could be the kerchief, well it's always the kerchief, but I could carry a handkerchief or a hooded neck gaiter as well. This is just so if I'm out hiking and I get one of those really wet from sweat or precipitation, I have at least another one to put on when I get to camp to help me stay warm. Now, my last trip, all I took was the kerchief, and that's really all you do need. It's just occasionally I like that extra insurance of having one other product to use to either help me stay cool or stay warm while out on the trail. The third thing to keep in mind is if you take care of your kerchief will take care of you. So this is the exact kerchief I've used over the past several years on over 700 miles of hiking and backpacking. And as you can see, it's still in great condition. I don't have any holes in it, and no rips or tears or anything like that. I did not baby this thing, but I did take care of it, and that includes cleaning it when you get home from trips, washing it with the appropriate wool wash on a delicate cycle, all those sorts of things. So if you take care of your kerchief will take care of you. Okay, let's get into my 15 favorite ways of wearing and using the kerchief. Now the first way I wore the kerchief is as a sun hood. Now I learned my lesson on my last trip that even though it was in the cooler springtime, I was much farther north in latitude and the leaves in the trees hadn't been out yet. The weather was perfect, there's not a cloud in the sky, but what that meant is the sun was always beating down on me. I was totally thrown off, but fortunately I had my kerchief with me and could wear it as a sun hood. Now for hiking, I'm wearing basically the exact outfit that I always wear. A merino wool tank top, a merino wool long sleeve shirt, some short shorts to let my legs breathe while I'm moving along, and socks and shoes and things like that. And I always have a ball cap with me. I don't carry a beanie or anything else for headwear. So as a sun hood, from the ready position, all I have to do is pull it up over my hat like this, and the brim of my hat would kind of keep the hood out of my eyes. But what this did is it provided my own source of shade. And even when the sun was beating down on me, I had my own shade and a way to kind of trap the cool air that was blowing around my face. It helped me stay cool and keep my sanity in that long-term burning sunlight. In the ends, I could just tuck those into my shoulder straps like this. And the added benefit is if I had my cell phone, say like a chocolate bar in one of my shoulder pockets, having the kerchief over top like that protected those from the sun as well. Now, all of our products, whether they're light colored or dark colored, all have at least a 45, if not 50 plus UPF rating. And that means they have excellent, absolutely excellent protection from the sun. It's better than sunscreen, it never wears off, and it's always there when you need it. So even though the sun was beating down on me, I was cool and comfortable inside of my sun hood. So this is my first way that I absolutely loved wearing the kerchief while on the trail. My second favorite way of wearing the kerchief was as a warm hood. And I've shown this in other videos before, but it bears repeating here again. So if I was hiking and it was kind of cold outside, or if I was going to bed at night, my quilt doesn't have a hood on it, so I would use this to help me stay warm. And very simple, again, from the ready position, I would just pull this up over top, and then I would twist these ends in a little bit. That just helps kind of create a better seal for the hood. And then tie these around the back of my neck, in the back, and you can just do a very simple double knot back there. And what this provided was plenty of insulation for my head and for my neck as well. And while I was sleeping, this additional material down here would also help seal out any drafts from getting into my quilt. So either while I'm hiking, I'd have this over top of my hat like this to stay warm, or if I was sleeping for the night, I wouldn't be wearing my ball cap. I could just create this warm hood to help me sleep warmer at night. So my second favorite way to wear the kerchief is as a warm hood. My third favorite way of wearing the kerchief is as a warm hat. So again, as I said before, I don't bring a beanie with me while I go hiking or backpacking. I totally rely on my kerchief to provide that warmth. So to create a warm hat, I typically wouldn't be wearing this. I would just pull my kerchief over top of my eyes like this. You want it to kind of come down around your nose and eyes, kind of like Daredevil in the recent Netflix series. So from here, I would bring the ends around like this to the front, and then start folding that part up. And as you can see, it kind of creates a beanie watch cap style hat. I think that looks all right there. And this provided plenty of insulation for my ears and my head. And of course, you can adjust it to make it look better. And then this tail back here, I would sometimes leave that down for just kind of insulation for the back of my neck. Or if you want to, you can kind of roll that up into the headband as well. I used this on my last trip while I was sleeping. It was a little too warm for wearing it as a warm hood, but this allowed my head to be insulated and my neck to be able to breathe a little bit. So third favorite way to wear the kerchief is as a warm hat. Okay, my fourth favorite way of wearing the kerchief while hiking and backpacking is as a sweatband. Now, typically I would only use this if I was really sweating a lot and wanted to keep the sweat out of my eyes, but more likely I used it when the weather was cold outside, but I was climbing a mountain and I knew I'd be sweating from the extra exertion, but I didn't want to get chilled from the sweat soaking my body or the rest of my clothes or my hat. So I would take my hat off, maybe strap it to my backpack strap, and from here I would just bring the kerchief up like this and then tie it around my head as so. And what this allowed was the sweat from my brow to be soaked up, but also from the back of my head, which is typically where a lot of my sweat kind of builds up and starts running down my shirt. So it would soak up that extra sweat back there and prevent it from running down my back and getting my back chilled. And while also allowing the top of my head to breathe. So as I'm hiking up the mountain, I'm creating much more heat. That heat can escape from the top of my head. I'm trapping that sweat here and preventing it from running down my face, but also down my clothes, making them wet as well. So my fourth favorite way is as a sweatband. So my fourth favorite way is as a sweatband. All right, my fifth favorite way of using the kerchief was simply as a sweat rag. And because it's in the ready position like this, it's very easy to use either side of the kerchief to mop my brow, my face, my neck, whatever I wanted to kind of get the sweat off of any part of my body, even down in here. And what's great about this, because you're only using the ends of the kerchief, I could easily then use this kerchief in some other way to stay warm, and just the ends of the kerchief are wet, but they're typically tied up in a knot, not in contact with my skin, so I could use it as a sweat rag, yet still use a kerchief to stay warm and dry later on once I got to camp. So that's my fifth favorite way of using the kerchief. My sixth favorite way of using the kerchief and wearing the kerchief is as a neck wrap. So typically when I was out hiking, if it was getting kind of cold or the wind was blowing, I had my wind jacket on, zipped up to about here, but that still leaves my neck exposed. With any jacket, it's typically going to leave your neck exposed a little bit. So very simply, all I had to do from here was cross the ends over, tie it here in the back, and I've got an instant neck wrap. And what's so beneficial about this is that because the kerchief has many layers wrapped up in this, it's much warmer than just wearing like a single layer buff or neck gaiter, but also because you have that excess material back there, that's helping to trap any of the heat that's rising up from your back and trying to come out through your neck. So if my shirt was all buttoned up, I could wrap my neck wrap around it and make a really tight seal so that heat from inside my shirt, but also inside my wind jacket, couldn't escape, thereby keeping me warmer. So my sixth favorite way of using the kerchief is as a neck wrap. Oh, and also, then once I got warm, all I had to do was undo it like that and allow my neck and shirts to breathe. So very simple way to stay warm and cool very comfortably on the trail. My seventh favorite way of wearing the kerchief is as torso insulation. Now this may seem a little odd, but I guarantee you it is like the most convenient way to stay warm and cool on the trail. So if I was out hiking and I had my layers on, my tank top, my shirt, and my wind jacket, and I was still just a little too cool, all I had to do was take the kerchief off like this and unfurl it completely, tie it around my neck, and you can either do like a single knot and then tuck it in, or do a double knot in the back, and then you can take the rest of the kerchief and kind of tuck it in under your shoulder straps, and in the end you can tuck into your shorts and pants. And what that provides is an extra layer of insulation right here in the front, including insulation for your neck. Now, because I always carry a backpack while I'm hiking and backpacking, that provides a lot of insulation for my back. And you realize this whenever you're backpacking and hiking and you get done hiking, you take your backpack off and both your back and your backpack are sweaty. That's because your backpack provides a load of insulation. So you really don't need insulation for your back while you're hiking because of your backpack. So with the torso insulation, I could get that extra layer of insulation to trap warm air coming off my body to stay comfortable. And then when I got too warm or started warming up, all I had to do was undo the knot in the back and then pull the kerchief out from underneath my wind jacket, and again just throw it around my neck to cool down. So much better to do that than to take your backpack off, take your jacket off, take your insulating layer off, put it back in your pack, put your jacket back on, then your pack back on. You can just unzip your wind jacket or rain jacket and pull this out, and you've already been able to adjust one layer without having to take your backpack off or miss a step on the trail. So this makes it my eighth favorite way, or seventh or eighth favorite way of using the kerchief. All right, my eighth favorite way of using the kerchief on the trail is for lower leg insulation. Now, say I got to camp and I was setting up my shelter. I was starting to cool down because I wasn't exerting myself as much. I didn't want to reach into my pack and start putting on my my long johns or put pants on. I just wanted to keep moving. So all I had to do, and I'll have to show you this out of frame, is just tie the kerchief around my waist, kind of like an apron. And you can use it as an apron like that, but this provides just a very quick way to get some wind protection, but also some insulation for my lower body. I also use this as my last trip to kind of help fend off some of the flies and bugs that were trying to bite my legs while I was walking around camp. So lower leg insulation, lower leg protection, making this my eighth favorite way of using the kerchief while out on the trail. My ninth favorite way of using the kerchief on the trail is just simply as a blanket. So unfurled all the way, I could just drape this over my legs if I was sitting down in my hammock or on a rock or a log, and just get some insulation for my legs. But also in my hammock, I could, if it was too warm to put my quilt on top of me, I could put this over top of my upper body, just provide some a little bit of insulation, allow some breathability, and an extra way to stay warm. Alternatively, if I developed a cold spot in my hammock, I could just take this and kind of shove that wherever the cold spot was. So that's like an extra bonus use of the kerchief while out on the trail. So that's my ninth favorite way of using the kerchief while hiking and backpacking. My 10th favorite way of wearing and using the kerchief is simply as a face mask. Now, I've always talked about wearing our products as face masks, primarily as a way to stay warm, but because we're in a pandemic era, it was also great to wear it as a face mask when I went into towns and resupply points for places that required face masks to be worn. And all I had to do for that was either to take the kerchief, depending on how cold it was, you could take the kerchief like this, and just put it over your face and tie it in the back. Or even just, kind of bring the ends down here and tie underneath if you wanted to. Now, if it's colder outside, you can fold the kerchief in half like a triangle, and then you can even fold it in half again for an additional 2 layers of insulation, as so, or even fold it again in half for 6 layers of warmth and protection. But you wind up losing a lot of heat just through breathing, particularly in cold temperatures. So this is a great way to trap extra heat, especially when you're sleeping at night. If you're all bundled up, you've got your head covered and your torso covered, but not your face, you wind up breathing out and losing a lot of heat through your breath. So you can put it over your face to sleep in to help keep you that much warmer. So my 10th favorite way of wearing the kerchief is as a face mask. So my 11th favorite way of using the kerchief was simply as a catch-all. Whenever I got to camp or I stopped somewhere along the trail, I would take my kerchief off, lay it out, and put all the gear that I was either pulling out of my backpack or out of my pockets and putting it on top of the kerchief. And because it was so light in color, it just made everything easier to see, but also kept it all in one place, so I was less likely to leave anything behind. And as far as I can remember on all these trips, I never left anything behind on the trail. So 11th favorite way of using the kerchief is as a catch-all. My 12th favorite way of using the kerchief is as an eye shade. So a couple times if I wanted to stop in the middle of the day to take a nap, but the sun was shining, all I had to do was take the kerchief off and either drape it over my face to keep the sun off, but also make it a little darker, or I could fold it in half like this and just kind of either wrap it around my eyes, or I could tie it here in front. I can't see what I'm doing. Something like that, and provide some eye shade. You guys still there? My 13th favorite way of using the kerchief while hiking and backpacking is as a belt pack. And while I've talked about wearing the kerchief as a belt just to keep it within arm's reach, you can actually fold it in a certain way. If you fold it in half again, kind of like that, and then half again, and have the open part of that fold facing upwards, you can tie it around your waist, and then have a pocket to put stuff in. So if I was in town, my shorts don't have pockets on them, I could wear the kerchief like this as a belt, and I could keep my phone in there, keep my wallet in there, whatever I needed to make my way around town for my resupply. So wearing it as a belt pack was my 12th favorite way of wearing the kerchief. 12th, right? Yeah, 12th. 12th. No, 13th. My 14th favorite way of wearing and using the kerchief, and possibly the most comfortable, was as a pillow. So what I would do when I got to camp is any layers that I wasn't wearing, and hopefully weren't too wet, I could stick inside of a kerchief and tie it up, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second, and create the most comfortable pillow you can possibly carry. Now, I no longer carry a pillow with me. I almost exclusively use the kerchief as a pillow in this way. Now, if I am wearing the kerchief around my head to stay warm, what I may do is just use these layers kind of bunched up, or if I'm carrying a second product, I could stuff these into the hooded neck gaiter or into the handkerchief. But the kerchief really does provide the biggest, most comfortable pillow to sleep on at night. It will revolutionize the way that you sleep when you go out into the woods. So that's my 14th favorite way of using the kerchief while out on the trail. Okay, so my 15th favorite way of wearing the kerchief is as a balaclava. And this just happens to be the one that absolutely saved my butt while on my last big trip. Now, to give you some context, I was hiking up a mountain. It was already starting to get kind of chilly outside, and I was hiking up this mountain, and it started to rain. I put my poncho on, and even though I tried to go as slow as I could, I was still sweating and putting out a lot of moisture from moving up the mountain. And what happened was the moisture coming off my body was getting trapped by the poncho and then re-soaking my layers. Now, while it wasn't a big problem, when I got to the top of the mountain, that rain turned to snow and sleet. So not only did it get colder, but that wetness in my body was starting to become a liability for me. And even though I was moving along, I started realizing I had about 30 seconds to make a decision before hypothermia set in. And I had two options. Try and stop, set up my shelter, crawl into it, crawl into my dry layers, and try and warm up that way and wait out the storm. But I remember from a previous trip that I'd done a couple years ago that when I tried to do that, I got too cold too quickly and my hands started numbing up. It was much more difficult to tie out the guy lines and everything. And then when I did crawl in, it took me hours to rewarm. So I knew my best option was to move forward. I had about 3 miles left until my next resupply point where I could stop and dry out. So I knew hypothermia was beginning to set in, and that one option wasn't the best option for me. So I knew I had to keep moving, but what I was wearing wasn't enough to keep me warm. I then remembered, oh, the balaclava wrap. I can wrap my head and face with the kerchief to seal in all the possible heat that's coming out of my body through my neck, insulate my head, and also protect my face and trap that respiratory heat loss coming out of my breathing. So when I did that, I was able to walk the next 3 miles in relative comfort. The warmth returned to my hands. I no longer was concerned about hypothermia setting in. But had I not worn it this way, I most likely would have started becoming hypothermic, and things could have gone really, really bad from there. So what I did was I had the kerchief in the ready position. I brought it over my head, and you're going to want to offset it a little bit and bring this end up. Bring around the face like this. So you have these two ends now. And then I tied it off on the side. Tied it off on the side of my face. And you can adjust it then to just have your eyes open. So underneath my hood and everything else, I was warm and snug as a bug in a rug wearing it like this. So if you ever find yourself super cold and you've got all your layers on and it's still not enough to keep you warm, wear the kerchief as a balaclava and it will keep you warm and toasty while you're moving through the wilderness. Wearing it as a balaclava was my 15th absolutely favorite way to wear the kerchief while out on the trail. Okay, that's it. Thank you for tuning in, watching this video, and hopefully you learned some new and exciting ways of wearing the North by North Merino Wool Kerchief to help you stay warm, cool, dry, and comfortable. Now, I'll also include a link below to the other how-to videos. Everything I showed you today, we already have a how-to video created for. You can find that on our website under the how-to section. There are individual videos that show you step-by-step how to wear and use a kerchief in these different ways. So be sure to check that out, get a kerchief, and enjoy your time in the outdoors. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.